Hello, everybody. We're back. Day after show, Saturday afternoon. We are 2 of 3 nights in the Ryman run. How are you guys doing, Neil and Dee?
Hanging in there. Hanging in there, folks. Just got back from being down in Nashville, 6:15 flight, but we made it. So we're running on fumes, but we're here for the people.
Love it.
Yep, and well rested. Good night on couch tour, and not feeling nearly as tired as Daniel.
Didn't wake up a
Feeling all
champion though today.
No, that was the other night. Did you talk about it on the pod yesterday that you won Fantasy Goose? Did that get mentioned?
No, we didn't talk about it at all, man.
You didn't have any of
winner.
us to, like lord it over. So what was the point even?
He didn't have anybody to brag to.
But we'll get to our.
I mean,
well, I think we'll get to the fantasy talk towards the end of the episode as we usually do. But wanted to throw that
I
out
only
there.
Play the game. Wait. I just want to say I only play the game to beat you guys.
Yeah.
So if you're not there to beat, it just doesn't really have the same, doesn't have the same grip. But
that's fair. I feel like the most satisfying one to beat is Brian anyway.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
But so we've got a couple of special guests who are backstage right now. They were at the show last night as well. They're ready to talk about it, as were you, D. But before we get started, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode of Always Almost There is sponsored by Beekeepers Naturals. Powered by nature and obsessively tested, Beekeepers uses potent ingredients like propolis, pollen, and royal jelly and steers clear of added chemicals. In a day and age where we want to boost our immune system as much as possible, Beekeepers Naturals has many products from lozenges to gut health supplements to support us and tap into the magic of nature. Personally, I don't leave home without one of their propolis throat sprays, right here. Especially supportive when singing my heart out at a show. Yeah, use code STORMSOUND at checkout for 20% off your order at beekeepersnaturals.com.
I need some beekeepers. I need some propolis throat spray.
You can hear that. Get it at your local Whole Foods.
Yelling a little bit.
Well, without further ado, let's dive into the show. Let's bring on our guests. We've got Anish and we've got Chase. Hello, gentlemen. How are you guys?
What's going on, guys? Hello. Living the dream.
Love it.
Hey, gents. Good to have you here.
Coming live from Nashville. Thanks for being on today. We're very excited to chat about this show. So we'll start with you guys, and we'll hear from D as well. But talk about last night, getting into the venue. Where you guys were situated, whether you were worried about the inclement weather or not. Take us through it.
Okay. Yeah. No. Last night was definitely interesting. The line around the auditorium was a lot shorter before the show in comparison to the Thursday night show, just given the weather outside. And there were some Facebook posts that were going around from like venues within like a 10-mile radius saying like, we're going to close our doors tonight just due to the weather. And so people were getting a little worried about the already like the thunderstorm warning that was already issued, and then other venues closing down nearby for the night. And so definitely a little nervous, but once we got inside, I think everybody's like, all right, this show is going to take off, and we're here, and band's going to go on. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely a fun time. I was down right below the left speaker stack last night, right before the canopy started. So definitely a good spot over by Trevor. So
awesome.
Yeah, wind was definitely whipping when we were coming in, but they had the heat blasting inside the Ryman. So we were section 1, so pretty much like all the way to Pete's side, down on the bottom and pretty close to the back. So truly like pretty underneath the overhang. So we kind of got like, you could see like just above the top of their heads. But that's a place that sound wise, you just can't be in a bad spot. So there was no disappointment as far as the sound went.
Love it. D, what about you last night? Where were you at?
I hung out I had a seat in section 14, which is the balcony. I was in the balcony both of the nights. Kind of ended up all the way over on Trevor's side, get a little pinched sightline wise, as our good friends Becca and Brendan shared their experience, or as Neil said, like Fenway, being out in the grandstand and just obstructed views. But I ended up, my favorite spot both nights was above, sort of just section 14, top of the stairs, just right beside the soundboard, which was all the way up in the balcony as well, and just good group of people, good crew, some Louisville people, some friends from Twitter, some, it was a nice little vibes session.
Love it. Yeah, I saw that the front of house, the lighting and sound was up in the balcony, which is interesting. I feel like that's a very unique occurrence to have it up.
It was.
There. That's cool.
There's just no space.
Right.
And then also, I mean, for anyone who obviously didn't hear, but get out of the pews is the way to go. You need to, so that part of dancing at the top of the balcony is, that's the only place you can like move and actually get some dancing. Tough venue for this band, but I had a blast.
Nice. Neil, how was your couch tour set up last night?
I don't know. I did, I switched off. I was like laying down for a bit, sat up for a bit. I think I made a snack at one point.
You gotta stay spry, and you stayed up for the whole show. I'm very proud of you.
Well, I had no choice, but yes, I did stay up for the whole show. It was the weekend.
Well, no, I offered to take over setlist thread for the second set.
True.
You
I didn't want you to mess
persevered.
it up.
Good one.
But yeah, no, it was good. I would have stayed up on Thursday night, but it was just, I had work in the morning.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do?
excuses. Well,
Yeah.
Let's dive into the show. They were pretty punctual last night. What I saw, I was at a show in Buffalo last night. I saw Melt and Pigeons, which was fun.
Nice.
But they went on early, like pretty close to ticket time. Were people surprised? Was the venue full at that point, or?
I thought it was pretty full. Like I feel people were mostly in. And it's I think it was at 8:30 start time. They were out by like 8:40.
Yeah.
So it was a quick one. And I noticed too, they were hot out the gate with kind of short, sweet song after short, sweet song, just nailing them out, not taking anything for too long of a walk at first. But I feel like the crowd was kind of surprised at first when the lights went down. Not everybody was quite ready for it, but they were on time.
I literally just made it down to my seat from saying hi to some friends when the lights went down, and I was like, oh damn.
Yeah. We're here already. Yeah, Turbulence is an amazing opener.
And
I love this song, and it really can start a show off on the right foot. Big peak, great song.
That song was born to bat lead off. That's a show opener if I've ever heard one. It's my favorite spot to hear it.
It's one of those two-half songs. You have the beginning of the song where like you kind of have the entire singing part where they go through the entire dramatic melodies that are part of the song, and then you have that second part which gets like the energy going, and you could tell people were ready to dance last night, and it became really steamy very quickly going into that first jam, because it was almost a 10-minute like peak going into that first jam. So definitely a lot of energy coming out of that first Turbulence.
Love it. D, how'd you feel about the opener?
Solid. Good opener. Sounded good. Yeah, a little more punctual. I had heard that they were going to go on a little earlier, and obviously we had seen some of the stuff regarding how they ended the night before. So, yeah, good opener. First set, it was what it was for me till the end, but
yeah.
We've come a long way with the Turbulence opener, right? Like I feel like on the day after show, not too long ago, we were talking about it after the Cross Insurance at Portland, Maine.
That wasn't any of us who some folks, you mean some folks from a different podcast who weren't super hot on the
so it's a guy from a different podcast, but was saying Turbulence opener, not a good idea. I disagree, still disagree, or disagreed then, I still disagree now. Turbulence opener, killer.
Yeah,
it's the spot for it, for sure.
Amazing. Absolutely.
And then the other thing of note in this time is that they actually came on about 10 minutes after ticket time, which we already talked about. But I was doing the set list thread, and I couldn't believe it was happening. I felt like I tuned in early, and it was like 30 seconds after I like clicked on the play on the Nugs thing.
Yeah, did I click on the wrong night? Like
I thought I clicked on the wrong night. I was like, this can't be. This isn't true. This isn't true at all.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was gonna be like at least another 20 minutes. But sure enough, there you go.
I'm good with it. First set, then we get Dr. Darkness, very short gap on the Whales, and the first Ate Up All the Cake since last June. 67 shows. I didn't realize I saw the last one at Art Park last year. Great tune. But this is one of the most first sets I think we've ever seen Goose play. Just very songy, not a ton of jams until the end. But what was the vibe like through Darkness, Whales, and Ate Up All the Cake?
I think the thing about Darkness I've been really liking lately is like he's been doing like a pattern scratch right before you go on, and he's being like, you can kind of tell like he's setting the mood right before they go into that opening like chord, and so it kind of gets you excited. You kind of feel the goosebumps coming forward.
When it's the first set and shit starts to get weird and atonal, it's going to be Dr. Darkness.
Right.
But it's cool. I feel like
assumption.
You forget that how fresh these songs are. What they've been playing that for a little over a year now. And Rick just has a little more swagger every time he goes through that. So I like kind of he's getting more comfortable with the cadence of the song. I thought that was a strong one, and I thought Whales packed a punch more than it normally did. So I really enjoyed that.
And then Ate Up All the Cake, just like a pure bliss Bon Iver cover that you can't really leave without feeling good about yourself and everybody around you. So.
What's interesting looking at the Whales show gaps too is last year we had a couple of gaps. Like we had 2 15 show gaps and then a 21 show gap from October to the Cap, and then now it's already been played twice in the span of a week. So interesting to see how, again, we talk about this all the time, but how they're playing with song rotations and what songs are getting played when.
Well, I think in 2023, man, like they're playing the whole catalog.
Yeah.
So songs like White Lights last year had huge gaps. I don't have the data in front of me, but there was probably 10, 15 show gaps of White Lights, probably pretty common 8 show gap. The Whales saw those big gaps. Elizabeth even saw big gaps last year. And now we've seen each of those 2 or 3 times.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is like a philosophy. In the past, they've been just playing the hits. Peter has said that himself, where like there was just like a small section of songs that they were playing, and now it's just like we're gonna play all our stuff.
Yeah,
that's the vibe that I'm getting, and they're just gonna keep working it. Although not that much this old sea yet, but we'll see.
All right, and then D.
No, I mean, I think I would speak in terms of, for a lot of the people I spoke to, I felt the problem with last night's first set, especially great songs, good performance of said songs, but just once coming off of Turbulence, you kind of expect I guess just expected a little bit more energy. I felt sort of the mood in the room to go from Darkness to the Whales to Ate Up All the Cake, and Ate Up All the Cake, it literally was like kind of space died, which was a bummer. So that was sort of my critique. Obviously, it was the good songs, just poor positioning and set placement for me, and just putting them all together in sort of the same space.
It's interesting to me seeing that this was exactly how the set was written out ahead of time. Usually when we see a set that kind of doesn't flow as well, it's usually because they pulled a couple of audibles or they were feeling something different, what have you. But interesting to see them structure it like this. Now, I think it could be worse, honestly. And you're gonna laugh, but there was a bit of jamming in the set, and as people that are, we obviously chase the jams. That's like what we're looking for on a nightly basis. And they're gonna play a songy set every once in a while. So that's my take on it. But from there we get our first jamming of the night. We get Elizabeth, nice little chugel. They've been playing these very concise 12 to 14 minute versions of Elizabeth recently that have been quite good. But what did you guys think of this?
I was a big fan of the Elizabeth jam. I thought it was patient out the gate. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was during Elizabeth, Peter was doing something that really reminded me of the Electric Avenue opener from the Cap. that jam they came out with night one, and he flipped on some loop, and we were all like, "What the hell is this?" So I feel like he was doing something similar during Elizabeth, but that's a song that grew on me pretty quick, and this year I felt it's been a strong year for it. So I think Arrow was obviously the big jam of the first set, but if I got to pick my favorite, I really enjoyed Elizabeth.
Yeah, no, I thought, I think Peter had some really just grimy, really funky keys during the Elizabeth jam. And I was like, I kind of live for that because that's what I really enjoy dancing to. And so, whenever you hear him hit the clav and start getting even like have the wah pedal on top of everything in the layers, it gets really fun. And that was a really good Elizabeth highlight for me. So.
Yeah, it was good to get a little jam. Trevor. A lot of Trevor as well. I thought he had some good moments as well in the Arrow, but it was nice. It was good. It felt, I think the one thing that the set sort of had, I thought was a very heavy blues theme, like the Whales can be as a very blues heavy tune, and Elizabeth obviously, and even Dr. Darkness just sort of lyrically and sort of a darker blues space. So yeah, I think it kept the tone going. It was nice.
Great. And then we get the Not Alone that Neil has been after for a whole bunch of shows here.
For a while.
Yeah. Mr. 8 Point Not Alone over here.
I was sure they were going to play. I mean, let's dig into that a little bit, right? So when Goose introduces a song, right, they absolutely just wear it out. And they did not do that with Not Alone. And it's a really, really good song. It's the slowest of the new songs. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad song. I wonder if when they played it, like folks were just kind of standing there like, what is this? And they thought like it just didn't hit well. That's what I was beginning to think. Is this is what, 9-show gap from when they played it at the Cap night 2?
Yeah.
So that was only the second time played, right?
Yes, correct.
There's only the second time played, and like a huge gap in between. So like I was saying, you would think that they would just absolutely wear this out. Like, we got Feel It Now was like third time played last night already. So I mean, there was a whole like playing that didn't happen. So I wonder what happened there. But yeah, I was really confident, 2-3 shows ago that this was going to be played no matter what. But it just didn't happen. But it hit last night. I mean, placement wise, tough. Because it's a really slow song where folks were like, all right, we finally got going again with this Elizabeth jam.
Yeah.
And we're like ready to go. Like, yeah, bring on
not
the
a good spot for it.
Yeah.
Not a good spot for it.
That's not what happened.
Alas, Madhavan has been shelved apparently. Then they closed the set with an Arrow. This was a great Arrow, I thought. Best Arrow in a long, long time. I think they've been playing a lot of 20+ minute Arrows that haven't done a ton. This one was great. A little bit of grime in there. Yeah, man, I quite enjoyed this jam. What was this like in the room? First big jam of the night.
Yeah, tons of Peter. I thought.
Yeah.
On this one, his sparkling layers. I felt like there was a lot of like twinkly. It was very synth heavy to start as well. Kind of. I mean, you obviously know that tone, right?
His part usage was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of organ happening as well in this jam. So it was great. It was great.
Yeah,
what about you, Anish and Chase? What did you guys think of the Arrow?
The person standing next to me apparently had been chasing Arrow for a very long time, and they were losing their mind throughout the entire jam, and I was so happy for them. And so I loved it because Peter's ARP usage that he was has on the far side of his keyboard rig, that was great. Like, I think him and Rick were just feeding off of each other, and you could feel it. And so definitely a lot of high energy going into set break for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious what your guys' perspective was, because like from the stream or from being there both nights, because from streaming night 1 and then being there night 2, watching the stream, like night 1, the crowd didn't really seem to be boogieing too much. Like it kind of seemed a little low energy. But being there last night, I thought it was a party, especially during Arrow. Seemed like the crowd was really alive. So I don't know if it was just the contrast of the stream versus being there. But I thought the crowd was boogieing during Arrow. I thought that was a good time.
Heavy dance vibes.
We did talk about this on the podcast yesterday a bit. And from home, I think it's because of the spacing of the pews and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty
Generally,
small.
when you see Goose in a space that looks like that, everybody's like packed in, so it looks like everybody's all packed in like sardines, so it like looks like people are partying. But at the Ryman, there are just very clean rows of people with like a good 18 inches, 24 inches in between them. So it almost looks like a sparse crowd that's just standing there because they can't move, right? Because the pews really don't have enough room for your knees. So from home, that is what it looks like. It looks like just rows of people kind of standing there staring at the stage.
Yeah.
It was grooving. It was grooving though. It was. Yeah, I agree. Arrow was when kind of the tone of the night changed.
Yeah,
I'll be listening a lot from Arrow on.
Yes,
sure.
and then they come out for the second set, and this second set was just like fire, just nonstop fire throughout. Starting with this Hunger Site, which was just to me just like an inferno. Just Rick absolutely destroying everything in his path, like rhythm section again, like Spuds pushing the jam and the tempo, and like just this was a fantastic Hunger Site. Did it get super exploratory? No. Does that matter? No.
I think it was good, and I think one thing to note too is that the set break was also really short last night.
Yeah, it was right around 30 minutes. I know they've definitely taken some 40, 45-minute set breaks, so it was a quick one as well. They were out there to play last night. And I think kind of what you said, Danny, too. Arrow changed the tone of the whole night, and it was a party from there on. So, like, Hunger Site picked right up where Arrow left off, and it
set a good tone for sure. So,
yeah, I thought it was a Hunger Site or Born type night, or one of the two were going to come, but it was a perfect, it's good spot for it. I like how it opening up a second set, sort of a slower build, kind of kept the blues going, but yeah, good jam. Like you said, Ryan, straightforward. Rick just big swinging his stick around,
swinging his guitar around.
Exactly.
Although big difference between the Arrow to this, right? I feel like in the Arrow, Rick almost took a backseat to Peter, really kind of driving the improv. And then this Hunger Site, obviously, because it has to be, is all Rick.
And it was amazing. And then they got into like this really cool like stop start kind of jam towards the end. It felt like a bit of an abrupt ending, but I really enjoyed what they were doing there. Trevor again coming in with some amazing fills. Man, tour of the rhythm section so far.
Trevor
all of
sounds
them,
so good.
All of them are crushing it. And then
you're a big T.
You're a big T, baby. Then we get Feel It Now. Definitely feeling it. Love this song. Love this placement. It's kind of a mid-second set. Dancer. It's like 10 to 12 minutes or so. And yeah, great song. One of my favorite Peter songs now. It has become very, very quickly up that list. But were you guys feeling it?
During Feel It Now to just kind of get out and explore and walk through the crowd, and made my way on the bottom floor pretty much all the way to the opposite corner, like Trevor's side, and there was just a pocket of a dance party.
Nice.
Like everyone up out of their seats, a whole little crowd of 10, 15 people just boogieing. So I definitely worked up a sweat during Feel It Now.
Intro to that song is just like an engine chugging, like like
just Jeff little he's rocking
yeah. A little Jebry action.
Yeah, a little Jebry.
Yeah,
I think agreed. One of my easily my favorite new song. It was the one song I wanted to hear of the new batch.
You were very excited in the group chat. When
very excited. Yeah, I called it like I was standing. I mean, right by like Sam Ray, a couple people, and like Peter just started that patch, and I like yelled it out, sort of just in excitement, and everyone was like, Sam's like, she's like, wait, how did you hear that so quickly? And I was like, well, I mean, that's what I was
on a
wanting
podcast
to hear.
About this.
It was what I was wanting to hear, but yeah, I agree. I think it's a song that after hearing it live and seeing it live now, it's just got like sort of a built-in jam in it. I think obviously we'll hopefully see a little bit more exploring inside of it. We'll see what it can offer, but I think placement-wise as well, kind of second or third slot in the second set is perfect for it. Just keep the energy and momentum going. Love Peter's lyrics. I've been saying it sort of feels almost like a Page song, like a Vita Blue song, actually. I think kind of and Brendan said that. I sort of heard Page, but he made the great point that it's more that Vita Blue sound. Yeah. So I love it. I think it's going to be great. Hopefully opens up a little bit more. Kept the tone going, though.
Might be dangerous to say that on this podcast, but I think it's my favorite Peter song. And I know what that means.
Ooh.
I know what that means. Yeah, right. Let's see, slow burn on that, right?
Let that marinate.
Yeah. It doesn't maybe go to the improv spaces that Redbird did right away, but this song is awesome and has so much room to do different things in a set. I mean, they could just drop it and not even do a 10-minute version of it. They could shorten that right up, then have that just be like a little bit of pep in a set.
Yeah.
Or they can stretch this out and really see what it can do. And I think it can do pretty awesome stuff. Yeah. Kind of adjacent to Thatch style jamming,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, set then moves on to Bob Don. This felt like the guitar solo was longer than normal. Just Rick again, just stepping up and just, torching the building. Wondering if there's singe marks on the inside of the Ryman after this Bob Don guitar solo. Unfortunately, without. But man, this was great. I'm loving the second set placements of Bob Don lately. I think this song really, really works well in set 2. But what was Bob Don like for you guys?
It was interesting because I told you I went over to Boogie during Feel It Now, and then when they laid that to rest and Bob Don came back, that one's slow out the gates, right? It's kind of mellow to start with. So it was kind of funny to watch the crowd settle down. And then by the time I made my way back to my seat, that's one that just kind of bubbles up from the beginning and then just finishes on this massive peak. So yeah, Rick just went scorched earth on the back end.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Some rowdy people around me.
And I definitely agree with the placement, because coming off the high energy from Hunger's site and Feel It Now, you need to have a song that can take people back down to the valley, let them rest really quickly before reminding them what it's all about with all the energy again. So definitely, I think, solid placement in the second set for sure.
Ditto. Good landing pad. I kept saying it felt perfect for just the energy, and it was that sort of dubby bass to start was very, kind of laid it back a little heavier, and then Rick showed off a little bit. So, what do you think, Neil?
Yep, not much more that can be said about Bob Don than it's already been said. Ryan said no width. We'd always want a width with the Bob Don, although I think a width wouldn't have been appropriate here. So I think they did the right thing.
Agreed.
There are
this
times
one always hits. There's times when you don't, and this is it, right? But this hit really hard in Boston. I was at that show, and I was there with my wife, and she was like, "That song's really good." It's like, yeah,
yes, it is,
and it's killer in that spot. And yeah, so awesome once again. Always love Bob Don, and lately, I don't know, it just feels like the solo has a little more bite, and I guess that is Rick's new tone.
It's all about that new tone. Hell yeah.
Heavy.
Yep.
And then speaking of Rick's new tone and shredding, then we get Drive, which also has gotten, kind of come to new heights lately in terms of energy and guitar presence. So we really, really got at this one here, kind of a shorter version, but they took that middle solo and just to the stratosphere, like a double time, crushing groove. Man, it was great. This was great.
I think it carried over some of the energy from the Bob Don solo too, and he just kind of, and the Hunger site, Rick was feeling it obviously in the second set. So, and then the Rosewood too. He was there. It was a very well played set from him. I agree. Big energy. Yeah, kind of almost had a little sort of metal space. There was a unique little moment in that Drive once they left the composed part, and it's cool to see them doing different stuff with it as well. I think First Jam, and we've seen it get very patient and psychedelic, or get taken out a little faster. Some of the different versions lately at Goose Miss and stuff like that, and so yeah, here for it. here for Drive in a different spot late in the second set felt weird too. That was
Definitely,
a little,
it definitely has been coming earlier in sets. Neil, what did you think of the Drive?
You know, I like I don't want to call it the new Drive, but it does feel like Drive is very different this year.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what you're going to get with Drive, right? This is the second very short Drive we've gotten in a row. You don't know when it's going to come. This one is on how many days rest? Two show rest?
3.
3. So that's surprising because I think last year averaged about like 5-6 shows in between versions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but there was a little extra Rick in this one, just like there was a little extra Rick in the much longer version that started off the cap run.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's more than just Rick's new tone and approach. I think they're thinking about the song differently as a band. That's the vibe that I'm getting. It's not just like Rick, you know, hitting an extra pedal or, you know, tweaking a knob on the Box of Awesome or whatever. It's more than that.
There's
And
definitely
yeah, man, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Anish and Chase, what did you guys think of the Drive?
Oh, it was killer. I'm partial to. I was hoping there was going to be that second jam on the back end. They would have really stretched it out, but honestly, they packed a punch in those 10 minutes. So they really went into it. I really enjoyed it. That's definitely a favorite of mine, and they went pretty hard for that first half of that song. But what about you?
Yeah, I can't really add much more. I do agree that, you know, this year has definitely been a new year. I was really excited when we got that Bliss Drive at the beginning of the cap run.
Oh,
you know,
that was so good.
You can tell the riff the moment they started playing those opening notes. You know it's going to be Drive, and you're just like, all right, is this going to be one of those ones where they just take it for a ride? You know, so. But definitely a lot of energy. Love the placement again towards the end of the second set. So,
yeah, it was great. And then we get probably my improvisational highlight of the night to close the second set. This Rosewood. Brian Brinkman, who was on the pod yesterday, he said in the middle of it, it's like they're playing Rosewood in June of 1994. And if you're a Fish fan, you understand what that means. But this was quite the jam. There was a lot going on, very improvisational. I want to know what this was like in the room. Anish and Chase, take me through this kind of the progression of this Rosewood jam and what this space felt like.
Yeah, no, it was definitely very, very interesting for sure. You know, I don't think people realize that, and I don't think you can see it on the stream, but Peter's like rig cuts out.
Yeah.
Like halfway through the jam, and he's like has to go around and start messing with his equipment, and that's where Trevor starts taking over. And when he comes back, you can tell that he gets the Nord back up, and he has the grand piano going, and he starts doing the off-tune chops with Rick, and I'm just standing there with my hands on my face. I'm like, wow, this is just Rick brilliance right here. You know, it's like this is peak of like musicianship. So,
yeah, it was cool to see, like, because that's another one that kind of has its own peaks and valleys. It's not just a shred fest the whole time. Like, there's some intricacies in there, and it was fun to observe the crowd kind of like come down, and then they'd bring them back up and kind of back down. And definitely what Anish said, with whatever Peter was dealing with, Trevor really stepped up. And I think ever since Jeff got that sample pad with whatever that
with the bomb thing,
it's insane. But I think that's a tip on Trevor's shoulder to remind everybody who's really holding down the low end. I thought Trevor absolutely tore it up last night. Like he was shaking the walls.
You're Big T.
Yeah. Trevor was getting after it. There was just a sick breakdown in the middle of that jam too. That one really went some places. So that was improv wise, that stole the show last night.
Mm-hmm. D, what about you on the Rosewood? It's in your name.
I know. I was very happy. I think
like a good Rosewood.
I like a good Rosewood. I thought, from the composed part, Rick, once again, like Rick highlighting, just extremely confident, showing off throughout some of the sort of little peaks that they build in the composed section first jam, and then I thought it had a good sort of solo, and then they broke it down kind of in an interesting way in the back end. I wish kind of had been able to explore it even a little, like 3 or 4 more minutes maybe. I felt like it sort of was on the precipice of literally diving in even further. But I can never be mad at a well executed Rose. It was one of the better ones I've seen in a while. And yes, I'm always looking for it. So
now, Neil, does this stack up to the Hosewood?
No. But I will say this. There are versions of Rosewood where Rick's phrasing can be really, really cool, where it's almost like he doesn't finish a phrase ever. He is just continuing to play notes, and there's no like full stop, start on the one, full stop, start on the one. It's just threaded together, kind of like, like how Jerry used to play in like specific jams. And like there's like a huge flavor of that in this one. And I have to wonder if that is like some kind of weird influence of playing with Phil and friends and then kind of carries over into this, because there has to be some of that bleeds into your mind. Yeah. If you sit down and play like 200 Dead songs, which I don't know what the exact number is, but it's like an obnoxiously large number. It's like 130 or something like that. It will show up in your music. And when I was listening last night, I heard that in this Rosewood. I was like, man, like he definitely was thinking about Jerry. And it still sounds like Rick. It doesn't sound like Jerry necessarily, but phrasing wise, I was picking up on that. And he does do that sometimes in Rosewood. So even before we get to this amazing ending section, there's like lots of really nice, in the lane, typical Rosewood jamming in this one. And I dig that, man. It's Rosewood's killer, it's in my Twitter handle. But then there's the thing that comes on the tail end of this, which is just outrageous. Interesting to hear that see, this happens all the time with Goose. Like Rick pops a string and then all of a sudden something beautiful blooms out of that. Like Peter kicks out a cable and then has to fix it. Then all of a sudden you get something like this, which they were like stopping on a dime together. They were so perfectly in sync. It was so tight. And for that to be at that point in a jam so late, to be so synced up, just awesome. This band's incredible. They're really good at what they do.
Yeah, they are. That's why we're here right now to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, this was
right.
great way to close the second set. And then Empress, quick turnaround on that song again. Just quick played turnaround 2 shows ago in Athens. So, but it's a great song. Great pick for the encore. I think definitely better choice than a Tumblé for the encore, which was what was on the written set list. I will take a Tumblé that's like a great show opener for me. Yeah. I would love to see them do again like what they did in New Orleans in the fall, which is Tumblé and then like gradually transition into regular tumble and regular tumble jam, which would be sweet. But Empress, how'd that do for the encore?
Dude, after last night, I'm officially batting 500 on Empress. Been to 16 shows. I got Empress at 8 of them. And you'd think like it would get old, but you just can't not absolutely boogie during that song. You can't not have a huge smile on your face at some point. So that was definitely the exclamation point on the night. Trevor always gets a little more time to shine in that song. So it was a good one, man. I got no complaints. That's a hell of a way to end a show.
Love it.
Yeah, I think, my favorite part of the song is before they even start playing and they're just building the tension. Everyone's hands are up in the air before the clapping starts. And it's kind of like you're just waiting for the green light. You're just like, you want it to come. And then they just hold it off a little longer and then they go in. And the energy, I was looking around, you can look at the top of the entire auditorium and everyone just has like a huge smile on their face. Everyone's dancing around, like everyone's giving each other hugs. Like it's like a feel good song of the night, and definitely teed up perfectly now going into night 3. Everyone's coming off of night 2 being like, all right, let's get going. So
they really stretched out that pause before they dropped back into it, and the building was going nuts. So that was definitely cool. Georgia Theater, I was at that show too, and that was a shorter pause, right? They didn't draw that one quite out as long, but it was electric in there when they went back in to close it.
Definite Divided Sky pause tease last night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Heavy one.
Yeah, well, this was great. That's the show. You guys got anything else to say, Neil, D?
1 show gap on that Empress. 1 show gap.
Wild.
So
technically, it's a 2 show gap because you'd be like, okay, they played it on Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday. So that's a 2 show gap. But
it's a 1 for me too.
I don't. So. That's.
There's no such thing as a 0 show gap because there is a show. So if they play it 2 consecutive shows, it's a 1-show gap.
We're gonna have to standardize
Because
this.
it's been 1 show since the last Empress.
So
And they're playing it again.
this is we'll talk about this more offline. But
Yes.
there's the fish gut metaphor, and then there's like
There's
what I
another
think, but,
another argument splitting hairs to be had about this.
They
we
played
like
it the
continue.
show.
Ryan,
How about this? They played it the show before last.
There we go. That
Yeah,
works.
yeah,
2
that's-
shows ago, would you say?
How
Was it
about
2
this?
shows ago,
Let's just
Neil?
say incredibly short gap, and that's weird.
Yes.
And yeah, no, I was surprised to hear it so soon.
Yeah.
But I guess you're right. In the end, like Toonblade would have been cool because I've been wanting to hear that slow tumble.
Yeah, I love that
Like
song.
big chase, huge chase for me. And instead we get Empress, which we've heard a lot of. Apparently, you can see it 50% of your Goose shows if you go to the right ones.
Right.
Well, we
So,
have
sorry,
a
guys.
we have a very official opinion here. June Atkin disagrees with me on the
That's
show gap.
right.
Ugh.
It's
Oh,
mathematics,
there it
sir.
Okay.
You know what? The website says it's a 2-show gap, so we'll take that. Before we wrap up, I'd like to shout out a friend of the pod, Haps, who got his first golden. I believe it was his first Golden Goose win last night.
He matches Junior.
Yes, he's now tied with Haps Jr. For the number of Golden Goose wins. So we're proud of you, Haps. He doesn't. For anyone who doesn't know, he doesn't usually beat his son in fantasy, but. Third night at the Ryman tonight. Lot still on the table. Will we get the Motivon, or will it not get played again? We'll see. Will they do something for April Fools, which I keep forgetting is today? We'll see. Only time will tell. But Anish and Chase, you guys are both back there tonight, I assume, given the fact that you're in Nashville right now. Awesome. Well, have a blast at the show. Thank you both very much for coming on today. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you about your show
Thanks for having
experience.
us.
Of course.
Thank you for coming,
we'll
guys.
be back.
Much appreciated.
We'll be
Thanks,
back
guys.
tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern with special guests Noah Ray and Bree Morgenthaler, which we're very excited to have them on. Talk about tonight, and then only 2 more shows until the end of this first leg of spring tour. So kind of flown by, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they pull out tonight. So thank you everybody for watching this episode of Day After Show. Have a fantastic day. See you next time.